Hi guys, welcome to the Proper Jogger channel. This video is all about those of you who are starting out running or are new to running. We're going to be looking at how to go about pacing yourself. How do you know what the right pace to run is? For those of you who are starting out, and I remember I was this probably about 8-9 years ago when I ran my first marathon. Remember going out the first time and no real plan, no real strategy. We went out there and I think within a mile was absolutely dead, you know, and I couldn't understand it. I was pretty fit at the time and went out there, and I remember I was wearing the wrong footwear, wasn't wearing the right socks, had blisters, and thought, this is crazy, how am I ever going to get to a marathon? So this short blog is going to be about I guess the different strategies to get to know what pace you should be running your various training sessions. So the last thing we want you doing when you're going out running is getting to that point really quickly on within a minute or two and thinking, I just can't cope with this pace. Your motivation is hit. We're going to look at ways in which you can do that so that actually you go out there, whether you're doing an interval run, a tempo run or a long run, you're getting to know your body and you're getting to know the signs and how to, I guess, treat each run with a bit of respect so that you're not going to be burnt out within those first few minutes, so it can be comfortable and more importantly you can enjoy it. Preparing for your run, you've got to think about the amount of exertion you've got to put in for that run. Think about the logical things about controlling of the breathing, if you're able to hold a conversation or talk, you know. So using some small techniques will help you judge whether you're at the right pace for the type of run you're doing, and it does differ for each, and you need to learn to adapt to each of the types of runs. So let's look at the long run first. Generally the long run is the slowest of the runs you will do, and it depends on what your end goal is, whether you're running a half marathon or a marathon. But for me, a long run typically is anything probably above 40-45 minutes, and will always feature in most training plans that I'm working to. So anything sort of above 40-45 minutes we treat as a long run and will need or demand a much slower pace. So if you're a new runner just starting out, and a long run to you, don't necessarily fall into a trap of thinking that you've run 20 minutes and that's felt really comfortable and therefore you can take that on and double that time and get up to 40 minutes. All runners will know that the amount of effort you put in, it's relative. So we need to look at that pace, look at the things we can do to help us get to know what that optimum pace is for your slow run. So as I say, it's a learning curve for us all. As we start out on our running journey, we have to get to know how our body and all the associated functions respond to each and every different situation. Let's give the long run a go. So there are two things we're going to do now. One is, I guess, the conversation, the talking test. So if you're out there, running can be quite lonely, so we would encourage you to run with other people. So you can try this when you're running. Can you hold a conversation with the person running alongside you without feeling out of breath? So that's a conversation test. The other one is the breathing test. So one thing you could do when you're running at what you believe is your long run pace is, rather than inhale and exhale through your mouth, inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose, and see if you can sustain that for a period of time, and that will give you an idea whether you're running at the right pace for that run. Go guys. So we're now going to get to, I guess, my long run pace, and the key thing here is, I'm recording, so I'm probably more conscious, but the key is to find a rhythm and a stride that you're comfortable with, so you can hold a decent enough conversation while you're running. As you can see, I've got no problems. I'm talking quite comfortably. I feel I've got my stride. My breathing is right. This feels comfortable. And I certainly can feel like I could sustain this for a long period of time. So that's a good indicator that I'm not exerting myself too much. So I've not gone off fast and found myself really struggling to talk to you. Instead, I'm breathing hard, but I'm not straining, I'm not struggling to talk to you. I'm finding this very comfortable, and if it wasn't for the fact that I had a GoPro strapped to my wrist that I've got to keep at this height, I could probably maintain this for quite a few minutes. So that's how you find a good long run tempo. Try it out. This should be the most comfortable of your runs. Sometimes, certainly when you're going up to marathon training, it can feel probably too slow, especially if you're used to putting in interval and tempo runs as well. So give that a go. Focus on conversations, focus on trying to breathe through your nose, and you'll soon find that sweet spot. Don't go overexerting yourself. So that's the long run. If we go to the other end of the spectrum, then we see the interval run, which for many are the sessions that really do, I guess, test you and burn you out. So this is very much threshold running, where you're exerting yourself. Normally, you know, interval runs could range from you doing high intensity runs for anything between, I guess, 30 seconds and 2 minutes, depending on what distance reps you're doing. But these are hard, full on, exerting yourself to the max. Would be very, very difficult for you to hold a conversation. Certainly be very difficult for us to film it. And you can feel you're pushing your body to the limits, which is why we call that threshold, because you're trying to reach that threshold and push yourself, you know, to get the old lungs filling up. So very different to the long run. Interval training, again, knowing your pace and being able to very much measure it on how you're feeling inside. And sometimes it'll be that burning feeling, and both, you know, you'll feel the lactic acid burn in your legs. You know that's working, and that's when you know you're doing them right. And the third piece, the third tip of the triangle, is the tempo run. So we've gone from the nice steady long run to the exertions of interval training where you feel uncomfortable and it hurts. Tempo run falls somewhere in the middle, and I guess the mix of these three really helps us progress as runners. So if we were to look at sort of the intensity, threshold interval running, you know, you're pushing 80, 90, 100% effort in those. Long runs you probably scale back, you know, 40 to 60%, very comfortable. Tempo runs fall somewhere in the middle, and we will demonstrate this in a minute, but if you're running a tempo run, you should still be able to hold a conversation, but probably not a prolonged conversation. And if you feel like you're starting to burn, or you're exerting too much, then you haven't got your pace right for the tempo run. Breathing, again, you know, you may find you can inhale and exhale through your nose for short periods of time, but not be able to sustain it for the same amount as on the long run. So we're going to go now, and we're going to go to a tempo run. And just so you know, for my perspective, I guess my tempo run is about 4.5 to 450 kilometre, whereas my slower pace is around the 520, 540. So as you can see, I'm running quicker, the breathing is a lot heavier, I'm maintaining a conversation with you, but I'm putting in more effort, and I'm having to focus more on talking to you, but also trying to maintain my stride, my form, and that felt very different to the long run. But as you say, on both, able to maintain, but you can see I'm more out of breath after that than the long run. So that's the three types, and the three of them work really well. And for most balanced runners training, if you get a mix of those in any week, then you're optimizing your body. You're very quickly going to learn what pace works for you, put all that into place, and you can't really fail. You're going to see improvement in your running.